All right, so you drink coffee. What about energy drinks? Are you into those
Never
yet or
had
not
one.
really?
I've never had one.
Never had an
Never
energy
had
drink.
one. No, no, no. I
Wow.
haven't had.
So how did your love with coffee started?
I think I got into it like playing in college, where you would travel and it would just be like, oh, just get a coffee. All right, cool. So I get a
Yeah.
coffee, right? And then I realized that I didn't like coffee. I just enjoyed how sweet it was. So I would get
Huh?
like, white mocha lattes at Starbucks and cool,
Yeah.
we'll do that. And then once I got a little bit older and like the first time I started traveling like the world, then it's like, oh, a cappuccino, a latte,
Hmm.
espresso, and then I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. And yeah, then here we are, man. I have like a whole machine that do
Oh, really?
everything, right? Yeah, I have everything. So
So you
yeah.
grind the things and you do your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not too crazy to the point of like, I'm weighing them or anything like that, but I have a good machine that does it for me.
Huh?
But I love it, man. I mean, when I travel the world, I mean, that's the one thing I'm excited for, to just taste the different coffees, which is better, where is it better, stuff like that. So
That's crazy. Have you gotten some Colombian coffee or not? Or which
I
has been the best coffee you have got so far?
I think depending on what coffee it is, like obviously like cappuccinos and lattes are really good in like Italy and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly, like your average cup of coffee, like just like an average cup, is amazing in New York. New
Yeah.
York is
Oh,
just,
really?
it's like some, I don't know, some crazy strong bean that just whatever they're doing, whatever but it's like anywhere. You can go anywhere, any bodega, whatever it is,
Wow.
and it's gonna be good. If what you're
Wow.
looking for is if what you're looking for is strength. Yeah. So it just depends, but no, I mean I'm sure I've tried Colombian coffee. I just haven't really put too much thought process into that, but yeah.
Yeah. Colombian is really good. Costa Rican is
Yeah, Costa
really
Rican
good
is
as
good.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Costa Rica. New York, I messed up. I end up going to Starbucks every morning. So
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
apologies. I didn't know
yeah,
that about New
yeah.
York. So next time I go to New York, I'll try local places.
Yeah, I mean, just anywhere. Like you'll just like the little stands and just make it a cup
Hmm.
and good. Always
It's
good.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned about the machine because like there was no still. I'm one of those that like actually wait it and stuff like that. And I
Ah,
start
okay.
doing my own coffee at home. I'm like craving my own coffee. So whenever I
Yeah.
drink the one in the office,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I
Not the
really want
same.
my coffee back. Give me my thing
Yeah.
back, mate.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's one of those where like right now, like I wake up and that's what I'm excited for. My
Yeah.
cup. I know what I want. I know how it's gonna be. Because there's nothing
Hmm.
worse than you getting a coffee and it's like, fuck, it's not good. You
Yeah.
know, not
Wasted this
good.
coffee. Yeah,
Yeah.
just waste
So
$5 here.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. Adele, people that am I pronouncing it correctly?
Abdel.
Abdel?
Yeah. Yeah, Abdel.
Abdel. There you go. For people that I know you, for people that don't know you, I was telling you before we start actually recording that I'm really excited for this call because we haven't really had the chance to actually meet. This is basically our longest conversation that we ever
For
had, like in
sure.
person
Yeah.
or just seeing each other.
Yeah.
But from what I have seen in social media, from the way that you have been acting, and in fact, whenever he opened the camera, I was like, oh, you're wearing black. That's also my favorite color. So
Yeah.
it's funny. I'm really excited because I feel like we share a lot of values. We share a lot of similar thoughts.
Hmm.
So I really want to learn more about you here, your ideas, your thought process, your mentality. So I'm really excited. So for
Yeah.
people that hasn't heard about you, why don't you give us like a small description of who is Abdel?
I mean, I think for me nowadays it's just easier. Like most people just know me as the Kronis guy, right? Like it's just
Uh,
the brand itself. I'm someone that, like most of us, fell in love with the position, had dreams of, playing as far as we could, and then felt a little short. I think my only difference with mine was I started transitioning into my business world a lot younger than I think I should have.
mhm.
So when I was 20, I began Kronis, and by the time I finished playing Division 1 soccer, I had already considered like, oh, this may be something I do instead of what I was studying to do, right? So, yeah, I mean, today who I am, I'm just a guy who loves goalkeeping and anything that falls with it. And fortunately for myself, the brand has grown pretty big where it has expanded into other avenues, but still forever just a goalkeeper guy that happens to have a brand that a lot of people seem to identify with.
hmm And it's crazy that you mentioned that Kronos has grown to different avenues. Because, like I'm
Yeah.
saying, the whole thing, you have glove, you have practice, you have recruiting process going on and
Mm,
stuff like that. So it's just like really motivating
yeah.
for, especially
Yeah.
for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying this stuff, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. The things that you're doing is really good. So you start as a goalkeeper. How did that work? Like you said, you played. So how did all of that go?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most of us, right? I started on the field, and unfortunately, this kid named Tommy one day decided to be sick, and they happened to put me in goal for whatever reason that was. And to this day, I mean, I just did another conversation with another friend, and it was the same thing. To this day, I don't know where Tommy is in his life, but because of him, I got stuck. I got stuck in this position that took me a
Yeah.
long time to fall in love with. I absolutely hated it for many years because it is not what I wanted to do. And it didn't
hmm
make sense to me how people thought I was good here when I don't want to be here. But that was around maybe like 10-ish, 10, 11-ish when I started making that transition over full time where it was like, okay, I guess we're here, and then by the time I was 13, I started understanding a little bit more like, oh, maybe this does make a little sense. And then yeah, I mean, because of damn Tommy, wherever he is in this world, right? That's why I'm in goal.
Yeah. Tony, if you're saying this, please let us know to see
Yeah, I
where you
need
are.
I need to know where
Imagine
that
him
guy
like
is.
playing professional right now somewhere.
Yeah, freaking guy.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you play club. You went to college as well. How was that experience in college? Where do you start? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, my experience was really weird. I'm a 93, so I went to go play back home in Mexico. We immigrated into this country at a very young age, so home is technically the US. But I mean, I was an immigrant or not undocumented immigrant until maybe 17 or something like that. I didn't get my citizenship till 2020, so it's been fresh for me to have that. But I went back home when I was, I think, 14 or 15, and then I played out there tier two and tier three. Uh, in 2000 and what is it, 9 or 10, when the economy started getting bad, I came back home and I started working at Panda Express to help out, to help out with costs and stuff like that. So during that time, it was really weird for me because, I had played, we had a stadium and the stadium was at one point a World Cup stadium in '86. So it's a proper stadium in Mexico. And to come back and play, local high school games or play club games, and it kind of felt like what is happening. I probably don't know it then and probably don't know it for sure now, but I could probably assume that there had to be some sort of depression at that time without understanding what's happening, right? Without really making sense at that age of I just finished playing here, now I'm here. I'm not training, I'm traveling over there to make my way up, and then now I'm playing high school soccer. What do we do now? Okay, college. And I started figuring out college my senior year. And I started it was weird because I went to a school that it's basically a vocational school. So, I was studying welding. So I learned how to weld to get a job right after high school. And then in that process, I started getting recruited. And I would take them to school because, my parents aren't English speakers. So I would take them to school and ask around, like, what do I do? What does this mean? Is this free? Like that was the only rule for my dad. Like, hey, I don't care as long as it's free. We have no money.
Yeah.
So, colleges started coming, offers started coming, but the rule was always the same. It has to be free. We have no money to help, so it had to be free. So I somehow end up in Cleveland, Ohio from Vegas. And when I ended up in Cleveland, Ohio, I remember I spoke to Coach Judo, which is my coach there, and Judo tells me this is Division One, and I was like, hell yeah, D1 sounds fantastic. I'm in, and it
Yeah.
was Division One junior college.
Okay.
So I touched down to Cleveland. I'm in Cleveland. There's no money for me to go visit. Like all these great stories of kids and everything I tell now. Like go make sure you like the place. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
get that. I
Different.
remember I worked at the time at a wheelchair company, And my boss was a guy from Chicago, and they grew up with hockey and football and all that stuff. So I was like, dude, D1, you made it. D1, it's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I touched down to Cleveland, and they dropped me off in an apartment, and it's like, yeah, so this is your place where you're gonna live. And we start preseason August 1st because that's when junior college started, and that was it. And I ended up in Cleveland, and when I was there, I was like, this is not what I think Division One is supposed to look like. And my roommate, which is one of my best friends, Augusto,
Yeah.
tells me like, no, no, this is junior college, dude. Like this is community college. And I just
Yeah.
thought, fuck, this is bad. What do I do now? And yeah, so whatever. I mean, again, the only rule was I needed to be free. It was free. And yeah, I did very well that year. Got offers to transfer. Felt bad because Coach Judo made me promise I would stay both years.
Hmm.
Stayed both years, and then end up going Division 1. So soccer has that funny thing, where like it puts you where you belong at the end of the day. You're gonna end up getting to the place that you belong. So I was able to play Division 1 and still for free, and that was my only goal. But yeah, I mean that was a wild time in Cleveland, man. I did not like that at all. So
That's such
yeah,
a fun. That's a hilarious story, actually.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned because that's the reality of nowadays. Like we have the chance to bring people to official visits, see if they like the place. But like when
yeah,
I was playing, the first time I see my campus was literally when I was moving in, and it
yeah,
was like, all right,
yeah,
this is it. Like whatever it
yeah,
takes, it is what it is.
yeah.
Something really nice that you mentioned was how soccer will put you on the spot that you
Mm-hmm.
deserve to be in, kind of. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying different words. And it's true. Like, I talked to a lot of people and kind of giving it the same advice. Like, that might not be looking like if you put all the effort, all the hard work, that doesn't really mean like you're going to be a starter player or whatever.
Yeah.
But later, long in life, all that discipline, all the hard work that you put in the sport, all those skills and habits that you learn will pay off in a different way. So I always
100%.
say that soccer pass the count, like the receipt. In Spanish is soccer siempre pasa la factura. And
Uh-huh.
basically it means that at the end of the day, soccer will build you and create those habits that you create. Before we go until like how do you transition to goalkeeper coach, I'm really curious because it kind of attached with what we were just talking about life. And besides being the Kronis guy, I want to know who is Abel. And you kind of mentioned traveling around the world, trying different coffees. I know I'm 80% sure that you also do jiu-jitsu, blue belt in
Mm-hmm.
jiu-jitsu, or you're
Yeah.
already upgraded.
No,
All
I'm
right,
still
blue
blue
belt.
belt. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really curious. What are your hobbies, your pastime? Like how in the world you end up in jiu-jitsu, all this stuff. I'm excited about this.
Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I I think I got really lost after I finished playing for a while because I
Hmm.
mean, I've known this sport my whole life. So from one day to the next, for it to be like, okay, that's it. It was like, okay, cool. So what do I do? And I remember at first, I would think, oh man, like this is great. I have so much time now. Like I don't have to work out twice a day. I always had to be on a very strict diet for my weight. So like for the first time, I didn't have to do that. So I started enjoying food a lot, and
Yeah, goalkeepers like to eat. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So it was tough for me, and then again going back with everything, like I feel like I transitioned a little bit too early into Kronis, transitioned too early into being a goalkeeper coach. But I feel like I let a lot of athletic, like peak athleticism from like 23 to maybe like 30 to just kind of go away because I wasn't doing any competition, and for my whole life that's who I was. So when I turned 30, or yeah, 30 or 31, no, 30, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna start boxing. So
Hmm.
I signed up and I started boxing, went to gym, and boxing opened doors to other things. And from boxing, I just said, screw it, let me do jiu-jitsu too. So then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and for a while I was balancing. Um, there was days that I was doing all three. Thankfully, I'm blessed enough that my schedule belongs to myself, and I wake up, do 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu. After that, drive straight to the field. I have my field, so field was never a problem. Do a goalkeeper session, come home, work, and then at night go to boxing. So it was just things like that, and I think overall, I mean, it was just filling in a big void of competitiveness that I still think kind of what we're saying, like I know soccer puts you where you belong a lot of times, but I think the goalkeeping aspect forces you to be that way, right? I think we've always, I think a DNA subject or element for a majority of goalkeepers is that that inability to just stop because of the fact that, well, time's gonna catch up, and one day you're gonna be the guy that's getting chased, or you're gonna keep being the guy that chases to get minutes.
Hmm.
So it all just kind of kept going, right? And today, I don't box as often, but thankfully it's still there. But I woke up this morning 4:30 a.m. to go to jiu-jitsu at 6, and then come home at what? I was home at 8, and then have meetings, and then here we are.
That's amazing. That's great. That's great. Boxing, I have stepped out of boxing because of the concussions. I think I'm
Mm,
not the greatest at defending myself.
mm,
Those hits on the face, they are like,
yeah.
dear God. At what time you go to bed? Now I'm curious about that.
Last night I went to bed at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 10,
Wow,
10 p.m. ish. Yeah. 10 to
discipline.
4:30 usually.
Yeah. Do you have a whoop or something,
No
or
whoop,
you
no whoop.
you never
I've
try?
been I've been considering getting one. I was
Uh-huh.
just considering getting but one like 2 days ago, and then I thought, nah, for what? But I've been a lot of people at the gym at the jiu-jitsu place have it, right? So they track their
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I've considered it like this week a lot. So maybe I'll buy it next week. Maybe I'll buy it,
I
I
mean,
don't
you
know.
can have like the free month, the trial
Yeah,
month.
yeah,
It is good, and it is, but like, of course, it will give you another point of view and stuff like that. But
yeah,
also, I'm a big fan of I don't want to watch to tell me, hey, you're feeling bad when you wake up and you're feeling amazing, And now
yeah,
you're in your mind of like, oh, I'm feeling bad, but in reality, you're
yeah,
feeling great. It's
yeah.
funny. Transition to goalkeeper coach. So you stop playing and all that. You start your academy kind of early, like you were mentioning. But how
Yeah.
did that transition, that passion came of like, oh, I want to be a goalkeeper coach?
So when I go to Cleveland, I meet Anton, who Anton is my business partner and everything regarding Kronis.
Hmm.
And Anton is what about 10 years older than I am. So he's 28 or 29 and I'm 18. And we lived together for like, I don't know, 2 weeks, right? Happened to just that was gonna be an apartment and he was there while we were getting, I don't know, whatever. Long story short, Anton played Champions League, UEFA qualifiers for Latvia, Olympic qualifiers. Like he's done everything that you would like in a resume. He ends up coming to the U.S. to play for Columbus Crew and doesn't work out, so he chose to move to Cleveland. That's how we kind of connect at that time. My day two of me in Cleveland. Um, he was gonna move on to go to he decided to get his education in business at that time, and then he chose to move on to a different place. Didn't work out, so he stayed in Cleveland, and then he invited me and said like, hey, if you want to do more trainings, you could come help me, and maybe you could train with some of my kids, some of my his high school age kids. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, in Mexico and Latin America culture, it's very normal that if you're, on the first team or one of the younger kids on the first team that is also academy age, well, you train double sessions, right? You train with the
Hmm.
age group that you're supposed to be in, and then you train obviously with the team that you're on. So for me, it was like, yeah, no problem. More sessions, even better. Like I have nothing to do here in Cleveland whatsoever. And as I was there, he started to show me a lot of development for youth kids. So um, I started picking it up, not, I don't think fast because there was no like will for me to be a goalkeeper coach. I did not care at all.
Hmm.
But I have a sister with special needs. So my whole life has always been, being a caretaker to her. So the patience and the understanding of how, someone that has, necessities and is it, their motor controls aren't as normal or whatever it is, and having the patience to speak to them and to deal with, whatever was happening that day with their emotions, because my sister can't talk nor walk. The patience was always there. So when I got, goalkeepers and Anton be like, oh, just, do this, focus on correcting this motion, this, that, cool, no problem. But I think I picked it up because I didn't care I wasn't passionate for it. So I just wanted to make sure that my my information, my delivery was good enough, right? I didn't care to be a goalkeeper coach, but I'm not gonna waste someone's time, especially not a youth, a kid, because I don't care to be a goalkeeper coach, but I care that they get the best out of it. So, and I think that goes back to our Hispanic culture, right? You kind of just do more than what you're ever asked for, and that's how a lot of people end up progressing in our life. So, I started with that at 18, 19, and I did that every day for basically 2 years, except for Sundays,
Hmm.
from 4 p.m. till 10. So I was putting in, 6, 7 hours of coaching development without even realizing it because I was just like, I mean, what else am I going to do? Be home,
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I did for those 2 years. And through that time, I picked up so many avenues because we were teaching, or he was teaching kids from different ages, right? Me in college being probably one of the oldest, and then down to little 7, 6 year olds. And I
Hmm.
started understanding, oh, well, we'll do this with the little ones. I didn't really care to, I never showed the oldest ones because in that group I would train to kind of, be the person that would push or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, six hours a day for 2 years, if you add that up, I mean, it was, what, 600-ish hours right away out of nowhere, So it was one of those things where my experience in coaching development for youth was so high quickly without even really realizing it whatsoever.
Hmm. And then for people that doesn't know how or what is the transition to the actual Kronis himself, like the
Okay.
building, the gloves, all
Sure.
the goalkeepers that you have right now, like how does the transition look like?
So through Anton, he tells me, I think Anton was doing his either his D license, his C license, or his B license, one of those two. Maybe it was a D. Uh, he goes to Florida to do his license, and he meets a gentleman that I can't remember his name, but tells him, "Oh, I make goalkeeper gloves for my academy. That way, they can all match." That was his goal. And he told me like, "Oh, I think I want to do that so that way, they match or whatever." Well, we had no idea really what this person was doing. So I started looking into it, whatever. And at that time, I was wearing a rolled finger all white glove that wasn't being produced anymore at all. Like we were transitioning already into like the negative cut. Like negative cut was becoming very popular. So I kind of said, screw it, man. Like I'll make some gloves too. Like I just want roll finger like this. And I was already going to transfer to UNLV. So what is that? 2013, we order some gloves and we kind of just order a basic glove to just kind of for me to have at UNLV, excuse me, and for the kids in Ohio to have a glove that was good, for what we wanted. Again, the goal was always youth development. So at that time, I think a lot of kids are buying, your Walmart gloves, Dick's gloves, whatever they can. So we kind of thought, oh, we'll show parents that the roll finger glove is the glove for this age or whatever. So 2013 comes, or I get the first glove. They arrive to Vegas, and we get, I think, seven pairs. And with those seven, we just started moving them. Again, never was the goal for this to become something. It was just I needed gloves for season. I knew what I liked. I knew UNLV was going to give me Nike gloves, and I didn't want to wear that. And Anton knew what he wanted in his head for his kids, but none of us knew that this was going to become something. So from then on, we obviously run out of those seven gloves really fast, and we order maybe 20 more, maybe something like this. And then those 20, become 50, 50 become 100, and then 13 years later, here we are.
That's crazy. Dang, I was having okay here. I was having a question, but I was just listening. I was so interested. It feels like you have taken these challenges of being like, oh, I'm gonna go and do this, go and do it. Like, what have been like some lessons that you have learned, like that fear, or like, what do you think you don't have that fear of, like, oh, I'm gonna make a mistake or stuff like that? Like, it seems like, again, for example, the junior college. You heard about the Division One, let's do it, I'm down. And
Sure,
then this transfer, let's do it, I'm down. Now the gloves,
sure,
let's do it, I'm down. Like,
sure.
what do you think have brings you that mentality of like, let's just do it?
Honestly, it's funny because for years I just thought like, oh, it's just how I am. But no, I mean, there's nothing, in my opinion, that prepares you more than to just be down than being an immigrant in the US, right? Like you could be an immigrant and there's many of us, but being an undocumented immigrant as a kid, especially now me at 33 and me talking to a lot of professionals and stuff like that, the questions that I had for myself at that time were very different than majority of my schoolmates, right? Like I remember um my dad telling me like if you become a teacher, like that would be my dream for you, just to become a teacher. You work what normal hours, he would say, right? His normal hours, weekends off, holidays off. Like that was the goal for myself, for him, because well, he's a construction worker, right? Like I grew up a lot of years with my dad where I wouldn't see him, at all. So it was like he would leave before I would wake up, and when we would come back home, someone would take me to practice, he would pick me up, and then that would be it. When I look at like what my what my outcome or what my goal from them was in this life was to be a teacher, and again, nothing wrong to be a teacher. I then look at like, yeah, man, I mean, we could do more. We can aim for more, right? So when things just started happening, I was like, oh, do you want to go to Mexico and play? Fuck, you're illegal though. Well, we came here already one way. We'll come back somehow. So we did that, right? And then same thing with college when the offer started coming, and I kind of already knew my parents' mentality of like, if it's free, go ahead because we have no money,
Hmm.
right? And to this day, I regret some of those choices for sure. But overall, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I lose money, time, but at the end of the day, like, what am I really losing?
That's true. And at the end of the day, like you're learning so much, so it's incredible. And then, so of course now you have like the own academy. You train goalkeepers there, stuff like
Yeah,
that. Are you
yeah.
still like active coaching or not much, or
Yeah,
is more
yeah.
like?
I coach twice a week, still in Vegas. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean the so as I come back to Vegas to play Division One, this is now 2013. Yeah, I obviously I'm broke. My parents have very very little financial resources.
Hmm.
You know, thankfully I have a full ride scholarship that my opinion on that has changed so much because God, that was great, but I didn't have $10 to, you know, buy food sometimes, right? So the only other thing I know how to do is to coach. I At that time I took it very serious because I actually made a resume. Like I would build a resume and say, oh, I'm 18 years old, whatever, whatever. I'm now a Division One athlete, but I have this amount of hours under this person as my, coaching mentor who has this license, these amount of hours in development. These are the amount of kids we've seen, whatever. Because again, although I never wanted to become a goalkeeper coach, I also never wanted to be anyone who harmed a child's development whatsoever. So I took that part very serious, not necessarily the coaching aspect, but I thought if someone is going to want to train, the least I can do is be as prepared as possible. Um, I started then coaching kids in 2013 on the side, and it happened because well, Kronis went hand in hand. When Kronis was growing, or it's still growing, but at that time when the Kronis was starting off, after training at UNLV at 6, I would go to the park and I would sell gloves. So I would go 6 till about 9 and just see how many gloves I can sell. And from there, randomly, some parents would be like, "Oh, do you coach?" I'd be like, "I don't, but I know how." And I can if you guys want to. And one kid became two kids, and then the academy, in Vegas officially was like up and running. Maybe once I finished playing, but I was always coaching kids the whole time, right? I would borrow balls from UNLV and equipment, and then come do them or whatever I could to just realistically to just get by financially, gas money, food, whatever. And then once I finished playing in 2015, then I said, I'll just make this into a Kronos Academy. did that, started making gear, and then from then on, right, our Ohio one opened up fully with the headquarters in 2020. And then from then on, I mean, you have LA now, you have Houston, you have what is it? Salt, no, Phoenix, you have San Diego opening, you have Columbus, right? So they're just opening up from different people with the same background as others, with the Kronis methodology itself. But yeah, man, it's just been little by little the growth of it all.
Yeah, and I want to start talking more about the goalkeeper development and like your thoughts about developing, coaching, and all the things. But before we go there, I still have two questions that I would like to hear. Number one, first one will be, what do you think made all of this successful? Like, where do you think all that driven came from? Like, I don't know, what make all of this successful?
Um, Look, besides like the normal things I could say of like, my background and stuff like that, I do
Mm-hmm.
think that I got a really good dance partner with Anton. Um, Me and Anton are very, very opposites, like
Mm-hmm.
opposites. Um,
Well,
and I think because we're such opposites, Cronus has grown very well because we both care about two different things.
mm-hmm.
Um, at the end of the day, we both care about goalkeeper development. But if you ask him what Kronis is, he will tell you Kronis is a goalkeeper academy. That's what it is. And if you ask me what Kronis is, I would tell you that Kronis is a brand, right? At the end of the day, like we still prioritize development because you deal with humans, and you should if you have that under your brand, like that is the number one most important thing. But when it comes to the definition of it, some people see it differently. And if the two, I guess, owners see it differently, then you push two different ways. And when you push two different ways, well, you expand so much faster. And that's what Kronis was, right? Like I've designed every single glove in the past, 13 years of Kronis, every uniform, anything that has Kronis on it, I've designed. And when it comes to Anton, the amount of obsession that he has with youth development is something that I am very, very jealous of because of the fact that I don't know how someone thinks of youth development the way he does. I think my youth development for goalkeepers is very good because, when I was in college, I studied kinesiology and biomechanics. So I adapt a lot of it with science and stuff like that. And obviously, having my experience with him. But the obsession of fixing little details, I would never, have that. And then vice versa, my obsession with details of equipment, of making products better, of, the brand itself. It's something that for him is kind of like, that's not that big of a deal. No one's going to notice that. So
Yeah.
when you have those two polar opposites, it just meshes very well, man. It meshes very well. At the end of the day, I think that, as much headaches as sometimes we cause each other, I think it's the reason why 13 years later, I mean, it's growing tremendously, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, it does make so much sense. I mean, the fact of like somebody really focusing on the media, somebody really focusing on that like entrepreneurship of like the business itself, I think is crucial nowadays, especially with social media and just the brand, like you said. I mean, you cannot have a business if you don't know how to sell. You can have the best web page ever, but if you really
Yeah,
don't know how to sell,
yeah,
whatever, nobody
yeah,
nobody will buy from you. Unfortunately, we need to live from somewhere. Like we don't get money for free, so that's good. I think both of you could kind of like you're describing. It sounds really nice.
yeah.
You have saying a philosophy: earn it, not given. Can you
hmm
expand a little bit more about that? Like where did that came from? Where do you hear it first and change your mind, or where do you apply all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we have two opinions on that. Again, for me and Anton, I think it's just me and him being like brothers. That's like, nah, you're wrong. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for me, it's just as an immigrant in this country, like that's what it is for us, right? Like everything that we have. I mean, I know what my parents' goals in this country were for themselves, and I know what their goals for me were. And I look at many immigrants, and it's the exact same thing, right? Nothing is given. We just work, and everything we have, we sacrifice literally, thousands of miles to get here, and everything is earned. And I think with Anton, it falls the same way, but it falls a little bit more of on the goalkeeper side, right? Like where everything that you want out of this position, out of this sport, needs to be earned in our
Hmm.
position, every minute, everything you've done. And we try to remind a lot of our athletes that are entering into the recruitment age, right? Because there is that gap where you have such a high confidence of yourself when you're in like the high school ages, and you assume because you are good here, you are good at the next level. And the reminder of, yeah, you got to earn that one too. Someone maybe said you were good enough for a full ride, but no one's going to know if you are until you're there, right? Until you earn those minutes, until you earn that spot at that level. At this point, it's not really yours, right? So I remember who Anton told it to, one of our athletes,
Hmm.
I think back like in 2020, maybe 2021. So yeah, I mean, it's just just two different people with two different views of life. But for me personally, like I have earned not given tattooed. So it's stuff like that that for me is just part of, who I am.
Definitely. And like I tell you, I think it's such a beautiful mantra. Like me reading it, it
Hmm.
gave me a lot of memories and gave me other thoughts. Like, for example, don't leave room for doubt,
Yeah.
or just you get the luck. The harder that you work, the luckier than you get, and that's kind of the same thing. Like I remember when I got the offer with the UM, and I was telling my friends, we had a conversation, and one of them was like, "You know what is funny? Like you can tell anybody about this job and nobody will be surprised. Like you have, like you said, that immigrant, that mentality to work hard, push that extra, do all extra moments. Nobody will be like, why this guy is getting this job? Like he
For
actually
sure.
deserves it. So I
Yeah.
think it's really pretty that mantra you have, like earn it, not given. Because at the end
Hmm.
of the day, like we spoke, soccer will pass the facture and everything that you work for is gonna pay off at the end of the day. So I think
Yeah.
that's great. Um, and the goalkeeper development aspect. So you come from a Hispanic culture background. Things have shaped. Things have like the modern goalkeeper. A lot of things has been changing. What are your thoughts on the goalkeeper development? How is the philosophy in Kronis? Stuff like that.
Man, I mean, goalkeeper development to me is very interesting because it's one of those things that I feel, especially as I get older, and I think I get better when it comes to this, right? Like, I consider myself a pretty good, decent speaker. And I believe that when I speak to a lot of goalkeeper coaches, there is that thought process of like, oh, but that's not how they do it at the pros. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we don't do that at the pros, right? And I had one season at the USL level, right? So I'm aware of how pros need to be developed. And at the end of the day, you can't connect pro development to youth development whatsoever. You can't even connect youth development to collegiate development, right? Like I firmly believe that in college, athletes don't develop whatsoever, or goalkeepers, right? Because at the end of the day, it is such a different world where you're consistently cycling the athlete. You may adapt to that situation that's happening, but you and I both know that there's very little time to better a goalkeeper, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone actually comes and say, "Hey, coach, I'm struggling with this aspect, can we work on it?" You have to find time for that. And the time isn't always given. And if that happens to be the third string, well, do you have time for the third string when the first string goalie doesn't need it? So when you look at those things, it's like, okay, well, I kind of can't fix you, but we'll figure that out in spring, you know? And in
Mm-hmm.
spring, I don't know how it is for you at UM, but for me, when I was a goalkeeper coach at UNLV, it was the same 8 hours, right? That you don't have, or that they're more fitness oriented. Then you get them back. You're trying to keep them healthy so they can get games. You want the whoever is now going to become the starter or whatever's happening to get minutes. So everything is adapting based off of the schedule that they're presenting to you. So there is very little to no development. The only thing that is happening is there's an adaptation period for athlete A to hopefully become a better athlete B. And what I used to do was I would go back to Cleveland. I would leave May, whatever, and not come back until preseason and just train 2 times a day in Cleveland with Anton,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we would focus on that. Now, mind you, I had no money to pay that. Like if I had to pay him, I would have never been able to do, but sucks for him. He was my business partner, so it is what it is. So at that time, we were growing Kronis, and I was the model, right? Like I was the
Yeah.
guy that was pushing the gloves. So the development is so different because there is this fight, and I think I'm gonna say it's in the US because obviously we don't live in another country, but we have different segments, right? We have youth development that is proper youth development for kids that will only be youth goalkeepers. That is it. You go, in Latin America, unless you're in an academy, there is no youth development for you. Like, there's no private goalkeeper coaches in Mexico for the average person unless they're part of an academy. Like, that's the only way. So you cannot compare the way you develop a kid out there versus the way you can develop a kid here, because here, 99% of the kids are youth goalkeepers, and they will stay as youth goalkeepers, and the 1% will move on at 18. And in Mexico, that percentage is getting lower and lower from every mesocycle to every mesocycle, from what age 13 to 15 to 17 to 19, and then finally to first team, second team, reserve, whatever's happening. So from 13, they're already weeding out some of the kids that are not even going to move on. And that is where I struggle a lot of times with speaking about youth development, unless the goalkeeper coach is an exclusive youth developmental coach, which is rare. It's rare for you to find coaches like myself, like everyone that's in part of the Kronis branch. It's rare to find coaches that only work with the youth.
Yeah. What do you think are like the biggest misunderstanding that goalkeepers have right now, goalkeeper parents as well itself?
Um, I struggle a lot with and I'm saying this because it's the top of my head. I just literally, before I called you, I wrote an email to a family about their question was game realistic scenarios, and I absolutely hate that term because I don't know about you, but there has never been a goal that got scored on me that said, "Oh, that was supposed to happen." You
Hmm.
know, I still remember one of my last goals that went into me at Division One. I think about it. I don't know, at least like once every 2 months. That I'm just like, I probably could have saved it if I would have done this. And I
Yeah.
think about it because it was arguably the most beautiful goal that has ever been scored on me. And I
Hmm.
think about it, I'm like, that kid will never hit that again.
Yeah.
But if I would have stood a little bit here, I would have saved that. And I tell people, like, that's not realistic. You're adapting and you're adjusting to what is happening, to what six, seven other guys in front of you that are also creating little mistakes, and something happens. And now with that something, figure it out. And that's where I struggle a lot of times, where when you have college goalkeeper coaches who then, for extra income, not that it's wrong, go down to youth development and they train them the same, or they make it simpler because they're younger. And the reality is like, no, 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 no. These youth kids are trying to get to the level that, the Division One, two, three kids are at. You need to develop them now, so that way in a few years they are there. And focusing on game realistic scenarios isn't the aspect. Focusing on, like, we refer to it as is it time efficient? You know, the drills that you're going to do for these children, are they time efficient with the amount of time that they can actually train with you? Majority of kids that can afford a private training train once a week. If that's all you get, is it time efficient for their development for you to hit, I don't know, 100 balls right to them so you better their handling shape?
Hmm.
It just doesn't make sense to do that, because that's all you're telling me is that unless if they don't miss a session a year, they're gonna see what 52 sessions like that. The average kid actually only trains for 9 months because they get sick, holidays, travel, whatever. Coach needs to cancel. 9 months, right? We're at 36 sessions, and for 36 sessions, you think that spending 1 hour out of those 36 possible sessions is good to just shoot balls at their what chest, or bubble, whatever they call it, and say that that is good enough for them for that time, because there's nothing else that would be doing that.
Yeah. So from what I'm understanding, basically, for you are still a believer, like for example, a lot of repetitions, say it on the shoot, or how does that look like? like the contrast between the realistic scenario to regular, I don't know, like the Hispanic way of like diving, jump, dive,
Um,
dive, dive.
um,
Are you more of a leaning towards that, or is that what I'm?
I don't believe in an excessive amount of repetitions. We
Uh-huh.
believe in a concept that is called complex scenarios. So what you do is that yes, you want the repetition to be high, but not the way
Hmm.
that I got it in the 90s of, I'm going to throw this ball from side to side from goal line to the half field for no reason, you know? So that's just stupid. But
Uh-huh.
the reality is that what you want to do is that you want to create habitual creatures. You want to create a child that can produce a movement that they're able to, one, process correctly, two, that they're able to adapt correctly as it's happening, and three, the most important part is that they are, with the complexity of the drill that you're creating, they're understanding and learning exactly how they need to move for it. So the drill isn't dive one side, dive the other side, and let's do this for 30 seconds. The drill will be this will happen a lot of times. You have a resting period, a correct resting period, but as you come in, you put in your rep, and we try to create that motion as often as possible within the time that we have together, whether it's a small time of the session or a small time of years of the developmental mesocycle. So the idea is always, again, if I have a child once a week and I need to make them into a Division 1 athlete within 6 years, what do? Right? Because we could do the math real quick on the average session. Let's just say they don't miss a session whatsoever in a year, right? All you're getting out of them is 312 opportunities for you to improve them. And if you really think about it, in 312 opportunities in 6 years, so that means that from the moment they're 12 to the moment they're 18, that's all they're going to get, 312. What are you going to do?
Well,
So the
yeah.
concept has to be that everything needs to be time efficient, age appropriate, and complex enough for you to hit every variable that is occurring with the goal that in 6 years or whatever time they're with you, they're D1 athletes. And we always say D1, not that they need to go D1, but if that is what we are going to aim for and we fall short, well, at least we fall short pretty high.
Yeah, that's really good. That's great, honestly. You mentioned that, like, now also you've been so in mindful about brand selling and stuff like that. I'm curious about like what will be your approach for a goalkeeper to actually market themselves for, like you said, D1, for example, or stuff like that. Like, what do you think an athlete should be doing, a goalkeeper should be doing at their ages to better put themselves in the best position?
Like social media wise?
Yeah, social media or just in general, like
Yeah,
whatever.
look, it's I learned very early on in business that the game is attraction. I can't convince you to buy a Kronis glove if you don't even know who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no matter who we are, no matter if it's me, if tomorrow it's, Apple, it's just attraction. You're just buying attention. That's all that matters. So I told all my kids the same exact thing. If you're going to consider social media as an avenue to get views and whatever it is, well, at least treat it as a resume also, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, like that kid, whoever it is, Johnny, I don't know, can create, a basically a resume of years and days, or even just training sessions, right? You post once a week, whatever it is. But everything is a timeline. And I don't know about how you guys recruit at UM, but I remember when I was at UNLV, I would spend hours on YouTube just searching, goalkeeper class of 2016, goalkeeper class of whatever. And once I would find someone I would like, I would try to find them on social media. At that time, I mean, Instagram was just pictures or Facebook, whatever it was. But if you viewed that their whole YouTube channel was just goalkeeping, well, as goalkeeper coaches, we can start identifying habits. Oh, this works. They're very, development, distribution based. Everything that they're upload is aerial game. They're good at the air. That's what my coach likes, whatever it is. If you treat it as that, like a diary, just like this is what I'm improving, this is what I'm doing, whatever, whatever, the odds of you catching attention is going to increase. And the odds of you catching maybe my attention as a, whether it's a brand owner or a goalkeeper academy or whatever it is is going to increase. And I may know you and say, dude, I just found this kid. He's so good, or she's so good. They're in Florida. Check them out, you know? And those are things that the hardest things for me to convince my kids because they don't, I don't know, they don't want to mess their aesthetic or something. And I keep telling them, like, there ain't going to be no aesthetic at 18 when you don't have nowhere else to play. And mind you, like a lot of them, and again, I'm happy that I am here and I'm happy that the brand is here where I can call and say, hey, you know what? So and so, I have a kid, fits your profile perfectly. Take them. Most of the time they'll do it, you know? But there's also kids that I'm like, no, dude, like you're just using me now. And you didn't do anything. And your profile still has no page, no nothing. It's like you want to be like a ghost or something, Mr. Nonchalant or whatever they say. And it's like, and what? When are you going to turn this on? Because as a coach, at a minimum, I want to know who I'm getting myself into. So if you don't care about this position, about the sport, but my job's on the line, you know? And those little things are just like entry level things, but at least it creates some sort of I know who you are without ever having to get to know you. And you and I
Hmm.
both know, like when you go to showcases, it's rare that you get the stars aligned of the goalkeeper did good. They also got minutes. I was able to see them against a good team. I was able to see things I wanted to see. Like there's so many things that are not going to happen. So it's better if I can go online and see 300 plus posts of your training sessions, and none of them want to do that.
What do you think are the most important characteristics for a goalkeeper? Now we're talking more about like the development part. Like in a sense, you spoke like, oh, this goalkeeper is great on the air and stuff like that. Like, what do you think is crucial for a goalkeeper to actually just develop and work on?
I will tell you this: I have not had a girl that has not gone Division One on a very good money without focusing on one-on-ones, specifically split saves, and managing a range in crosses. If I prioritize those two things with everything else that we do at Kronis, the movement, the fluidity, the rhythm, they will, get almost anyone's attention because we understand as goalkeeper coaches, especially in our world, that we as coaches don't qualify a save as something that's like, oh, they're saving a lot, that means they're good. We tend to be picky of how they saved it. Was it a good save? Did they need to save it like that? And no one can tell me that a 1v1 split save is not going to look, holy shit, that looks pretty intense. That looks pretty advanced. And if they're doing it from age 12, which, most of my 10-year-old girls have it down at this point, that they understand, how to front dive, how to do a vertical save, anything that has to do with them in the air, you feel confident because those are the two areas that goalkeepers rarely look confident now, right? The aerial game is so hard to dominate, very hard. And if you get a goalkeeper to manage it decently for their age, cool, I'm in. If you then have a goalkeeper that can manage 1v1 scenarios, whether they're successful or not successful, but that you can understand, oh, this is why they're doing that. Cool, I'm in. And by the time they're 18 or 16, whenever it's recruiting age, they just like it's their bread and butter. And my bread and butter was never anything like that. For me, as a Latin, as a Hispanic, it was always speed and reaction.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that you mentioned the split save because I think that's something that old fashioned coaches will struggle with. I think there's still that mentality of like, oh, the goalkeeper should be catching the ball, the goalkeeper should be like go in their hands and stuff like that. But understand that there is a lot of room on the splits. There is a lot of saves made by the splits. If the goalkeeper really properly know how to do a split save, trust me, that's such an incredible tool. Where if you see it consistent, if you watch a lot of goalkeeper and you see it consistent, they are really effective. And I think we have this conversation from one of your goalkeepers that I was like, wow, she's so good at the 1v1s. And I was like, how do you and we can talk about this. Let me ask you, how do you coach the spread for people that are developing this technique? Because of course this is a new generation thing, so of course college players might not be as used to do this kind of spreads or stuff like that. So how do you develop this?
we've been teaching this. I mean, I was taught the spread since I was what 14 or whatever it was, because I mean,
Mhm.
that was things like Chilavert was doing it, right? Like goalkeepers like that, Pato Bonaceri was doing it, right? So a lot of things that are catching up today are things that in Latin America, right? I mean, side volleys. I didn't even learn how to punt a ball. I didn't know punt, like I never knew that that was something.
Yeah.
Like kick it as high as you can, and okay. Um, so to me, like a split save, like I tell people, like I don't believe that the goalkeeping has changed in the past 10 years at all. It's just finally caught up to what it is. For a while, you would call the split save like the newer split, right? That's how people would refer to it because newer made it very, very popular. And I'm like, dude, people in my pueblo were doing this. Like, there wasn't that big of a deal, you know? But newer made it very popular. And then we go to the past World Cup of who happened to be very successful with that split save that
Mhm.
probably won them the World Cup. Okay, well, then we have him. So then we have two goalkeepers that are very, at least predominant in that technique because of one that did it since, God, Newer's been doing it since I started seeing him. And then now you have, what's his name? The Argentinian goalkeeper that happened to
Human.
do it. Yeah. And then everyone kind of, all the kids, finally have someone, a reference point.
Hmm.
But the idea behind it is always if I teach you how to do what a I don't know how to say it, but I think they call it like the K save, right? That's what it's called, or a
Yeah.
K block.
Huh.
If I get a goalkeeper to show me the K block, and then I tell him to split save, that's day and night. But all my kids that split save, and I tell them just drop your knee and just kind of stay there. They can all do it. So the thought process a lot of times is like, let's teach the hardest element, which is a split save. Anything after that, it's what you want me to just keep my feet and just chase this guy around,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that. I'm fast enough, I'm agile enough, I'm flexible enough to do a split save. Keeping my feet and putting my hands next to my leg as I move like a duck is not going to be that hard. But you've seen kids that you try to show them, especially as they get older, and tell them, hey, we're going to teach you how to split save today, and you question and like, is this safe right now, because this heel is going to get stuck into the turf, or my
Yeah, the
knee,
knee.
right? So the way we teach it, obviously, like we teach at any age, especially it's part of our method. I think it's part of our bread and butter, but we teach it with tennis balls. So
Hmm.
what you try to do is you get them in the position, you drop the tennis ball, and you tell them, I want you to try to kick your leg with the tennis ball as if you're clearing it, and then fall on your butt. And that's it. And they do that over and over again. And then little by little, then you start implicating just a cone, try to run to it, kick the tennis ball, fall. And that
Hmm.
again takes about 3 months. And next thing you know, you got little 7-year-olds, screaming keeper coming out,
Yeah.
and that's it. But from an
I love-
early age, they know how to take up so much space. And yeah, like you said, balls are going to go in underneath them, to the left, to the right. But time will catch up for them, and they'll realize when to split save, when not to split save, and we'll go from there.
I love that you mentioned the K block, and if I'm honest with you, I dislike the K block. For me, I barely see a K block. I never see a goalkeeper chasing somebody down with a K position, like walking with a dog. And
Yeah.
at some point, I was like, there's room for this. But honestly, I'm not into K block yet. Probably somebody can prove me wrong, can bring me videos and show me, and then I'll be like, okay, you're right. Uh, for me, it's the split spread. I mean, and again, like you were saying, timing that perfect run of actually being able to make the save with that spread, I think that's a crucial part because whenever you go on set and then you try to do it, is where those mistakes occur of like, okay, what
Yeah.
I'm doing with my
Yeah.
feet and all of this.
Yeah, and like we have to remember that like none of that matters. Like if it goes in, it goes in. I mean, every kid is an amateur kid, you know? No one's paying them to be there. They're paying monthly fees to be there. Let them come out and mess up. They have to test their range. It's the same thing with crosses. Let them come out and let it go over their head. And if it goes, it goes. How else are they going to learn? Right? Because there's nothing more serious than that.
That's such a big pet thing for me. Like goalkeepers believing everything, like a perfect scenario is not conceding a goal and then getting so frustrated because they concede a goal, or just in practice, like they get frustrated because they're conceding a goal in practice. I'm like, what the heck are we talking about here? So yeah, I agree with you. It's just like that learning process, especially with goalkeeping being such a mental game. Like if we are reinforcing those behaviors of like, oh, you
Yeah.
concede and stuff like that. is not helping anybody. What are
No.
your tips for the mental aspect of the game? Of course. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I like there's this quote by Aristotle that basically talks about how, a someone who produces like furniture, like chairs, like they'll make millions of them in their life. Like my dad for many years now produces like dining tables, right? They're made out of wood, and that's what he does. And the way the Aristotle says it is like no matter how good you are at this, every time you will have to adapt. The wood changes based off temperature, based off weather, based off the tree, based off anything, it could change. And just because you know how to make a chair doesn't mean that every chair will be the same. And with the mental aspect of the game, it's that same thing. Like I believe that a lot of times it is incorrect for us as goalkeeper coaches, especially if we have no psychological background or mental health specialist or anything like that, to give advice on how to handle a game when I don't know what it is to be, a 12-year-old girl in the goal. I have no clue. I have no clue what it is to be a 12-year-old boy today in goal. Some of these kids bring photographers to the game, and the glove and boot combo is something that I'm like, man, you look good. I wish I looked that good when I was back then. Man,
Yeah.
some of these kids look like pros. Whatever. Who are we to say that's not correct? Why? 99% of them will move on to play in college, or what is it, 92, whatever it is, right? So let them have fun and enjoy how they look. If that allows them to be a better goalkeeper, great. Who am I to say don't do that? Because I know the stupid crap that I was doing to get mentally prepared. And I look back and I'm like, that wasn't it. And to me, going back with the Aristotle quote, basically it's you have to teach them that you can't chase the past performance that you did, because that past performance happened because of what happened, right? Many times it's, did you get a warm up? Yeah, it was great. Now every warm up I need for me to have a good game. No, no, that's not real, right? The youth world, that's not real. But maybe the night before you ate pizza and it worked out. I don't know. But we have to remember that adapting per game is the only thing we have to teach a child. You won't get that performance back, but we can maybe create a new one. And if we create a new one based off of the one thing you can control, you come to training on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever you do, you try as hard as you can, and you do everything you can do to control. If you can warm up yourself, great. If you make sure your gloves are washed, great. But you can't control the weather. You can't control the opponent. You can't control, I don't know, your emotions that day because they're children. And we are nobody to tell them, like, you need to be stronger. Because you and I both know what it is to be, 15 years old and the world looks like it's going to end. But when you try to just tell them, like, all we're going to do is adapt to today. If it starts off bad, great. We adapt to it being bad, and can we adapt to it getting better? But if you just focus on, no, dude, mentally, you need to be here. Emotionally, no. Like, we're just creating little robots, and it's not correct. That's why I believe in that. Like, don't chase the performance. Just chase the ability to adapt to whatever's presented today.
Yeah. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that goalkeeper coaches are doing nowadays?
I think, and I don't know if it's right for me to say that, because in theory, I was that as well. But I did put a lot of hours under someone else. So I was never allowed to train anyone by myself for the first 3 years of my coaching career. But I think the biggest mistake that we do is that we assume that because we played, we can then coach. And I don't know who said it. I think it was either Mourinho or it was Pep, but one of those two said there are people out there in the world that their only dream is to become a coach. And those are the guys and girls that you're competing against. Like that's what they want to do. They want to be that. And then there's the people that are just like, well, I played at UNLV. I can coach your kid. Let me shoot a couple balls. Call it a day. And we go back to the same thing I said. You just took approximately statistically one session out of the 312 sessions that they would do from 12 to 18. And you gave them nothing. Nothing. So when that is occurring, I think that instead of saying this is the biggest mistake, it's we as coaches need to be a little bit more professional towards other coaches And even as players, if you're just a player, professional to know, I am a player today. I'm not a coach. I want to know how to coach. Let me learn how to coach. Let me find someone, remove my ego that I've had my whole life as a NCAA starter competitor, and for the first time come in and just be someone's helper. And know that the same way that it took me years to learn how to be a goalkeeper, it's going to take me years to learn how to handle nowadays a 9-year-old girl, an 8-year-old boy, a 7-year-old girl in the same group, and how I can correctly make sure that they're all benefiting. Because it's not okay for you to take away that one session from them and think, well, I made $60. Cool.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, of course, like whenever you start coaching, you start seeing more of this, and that's the reality of it. Like there is so many coaches that will show up to the field, and don't call like I have done this in the past. Show up to the field, I have no clue about what I'm gonna practice, and then just go and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's the beauty thing about it. Like you go and try to get the best version of yourself. Like I fall in love with this, and of course, like I never thought I was gonna be a goalkeeper coach. But when I start doing it, I'm like, wow, this is something that I really, really enjoy. And I go out of my way to learn more about this and bring the best thing and plan, like you said, be able to provide the best things that I can provide to my goalkeepers, things that
Yeah.
I never had the chance to have when I was in college or when I was growing up. So me reflecting on this is like, yeah, we need to put that investment, care about this. And like you're saying, not just being that person that is gonna show up, make $50 and care less about it. And that has been a shift that I have done during the years. On a sense, like same with the private lessons. It's nice for somebody to come and train once a week and then just pay you, I don't know, $100, $70. But like in reality, if the person doesn't show up in 4 weeks, how much of a good are you doing them? Like, do you have a plan? Do you actually plan something on them, or just showing up and kicking some balls and just gaining the money on
Yeah.
the sense of it?
Yeah. I mean, like for example, I don't believe in one-on-ones at all. Um, Not that I don't think they work. I know that Anton could run a freaking training session with a cone and make it work, you know?
Hmm.
But I think that when I look at my life as trying to, improve this athlete on a 1v1 scenario, unless they are a certain age, what are you really going to work?
Hmm.
Because the biggest question you always have to ask as a goalkeeper coach is, did I give him a workout or did I develop him today? And they don't go hand in hand. 1v1s, it's rare that I could say, man, that was a session.
Hmm.
And the only time that works, like excuse me, I don't accept goalkeepers in my academy past the age of 16. If I've never trained you at 16, sorry, not gonna happen because I don't have time to do anything with you. And at that point, I'm working you out. I have to remove habits to improve new habits, and within that time, you're out. You're done. So I don't do that. And I think that when we go back to again another mistake for goalkeeper coaches is we need to be honest that there is no one in this world who can develop youth, let's say recruiting age youth and then into the Division 1 world, right? Like you can't do all three because they're different mindsets. And I've been there as a Division 1 coach in the morning doing the Division 1 guys and at the PM session saying, this is kind of contrary to what I was teaching in the morning. It's why goalkeeper coaches that become head coaches can't become goalkeeper coaches again because it's not the same. I need to sacrifice my goalkeeper, because my priority now is my team, not the goalkeeper. So it goes back with this, like, if you are good, be good at one of them, maybe two, but pick which two. You want to work with the older goalkeepers? Great. I only accept 16 and up or advanced 15 and up, whatever it is, right? But this is who I work with, the elite of the elite. I don't teach, and I respect coaches like that so much that say, dude, I don't teach. I don't have the patience to do that. Give them to me when they're done, and now we'll move them into the next level. Because there's coaches for that. There's goalkeeper coaches that will prepare you from age, let's say 17, 22, to make sure you have a good MLS career. Those exist. I work with the remaining 90, 98, 99% of them that hopefully they get here. And I will never, ever agree that there's a coach that in the morning, they push, 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 push full adult athletes. And they can tell me that at nighttime, they can go train, 6, 7, 7 year olds and have them actually develop. It's two different brain patterns.
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense of like there's two different ideologies of how you
Mm-hmm.
want to develop these players. In a sense, like in college, like you said, we don't have the time at some point, and you
Nope.
cannot be every time fixated with that guided question and player oriented. It's like, all right, we need to win this weekend. I'm gonna tell you what the heck to do. But meanwhile, I do believe the same person, of course, can come in the evening and be like, okay, I'm gonna change my shift of actually how I'm gonna develop. But I do believe, like you were saying, like there needs to be a really there needs to be a plan, and the goalkeeper coach needs to be mindful about it. It's not just about like, oh, I'm gonna do the same session that I did this morning with my college kids. I'm gonna bring it to a 7 year old, and I hope they get better the same way because that's not gonna happen. There's two different scenarios, more patience, more stuff a lot of things that play a role. We have been 1 hour and 10 minutes, so I want to be really mindful about your time. I have a couple
Uh,
more
I'm
questions
free
that I
as
want
long
to.
as you want.
All right, love that free buzz here. What goalkeepers need to be aware about in nowadays? Again, like coaches and stuff like that.
I'm right now speaking a lot about investing your time correctly in a proven goalkeeper coach. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard for me to say that because someone trusted me when I had no quote unquote proof, right? And sometimes the only thing that makes me comfortable saying that is like, well, I technically had years under someone else. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if like, Juan came to someone and said, I was never a goalkeeper coach, but for 3 years I was the assistant goalkeeper coach here, they'd be like, oh, okay, well, there's some experience there. But no
Mm-hmm.
one would hire you with, I have no goalkeeper coaching experience. This is going to be my first job at UM.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of be like, well, really? Like that's it? Like,
Yeah.
you know? And it's and the reason why is because we are entering the shift, right? Like for in the past World Cup that happened in the US, I think soccer grew 43%. I think that was a percentage. And they're expecting that's going to grow roughly the same, or if not more, after this summer. What is probably going to happen is that there's going to be so many more in our world goalkeepers that want to become goalkeepers, but there's also going to be more goalkeepers that want to become goalkeeper coaches. The good ones are going to keep becoming better, and the bad ones are going to stay here and ruin a lot of goalkeepers, right? Because that happens all over the world. But the difference is that in the US, there's a lot of parents that have the income and the resources to say, again, I'll pay $100 an hour for whoever wants to come to my backyard because I don't feel like driving. And I think that that is where we need to become very, very selective with who you are developing. Because again, in 10 years, you only get 360 sessions. That's all it is. That's all it is on average, right? Statistically. If that's all you're getting, I don't think there's anything that you could tell me that, hey, you got 360 tries to get this right. And then I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, I'm going to make sure I get this right because that doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah.
And those are the things where we're going to struggle with coming soon.
So, what do you think makes a good coach, a good developer coach?
I would say that you need to be around people who have already made certain mistakes for what they're trying to get, right? Like a good coach should be able to say, Mom and dad want D1 full ride. I know the recipe. It may not be the
Mm-hmm.
perfect recipe because every athlete is different, but I can tell you, we're not going to focus here. We're not going to focus here. We're not going to focus here. One, two, three, four. These are the 5 elements, and this is going to be the plan for the next 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe mom and dad say, I don't care. I just want them to play in college. Cool. My life got easier, right? We have a little bit more time, or we can move around with flexibility. But if someone tells you, whoever it is, if someone told anyone, I want my son to play Division 1 soccer. He is 12 years old. We need to commit by what, 17? You have 5 years. What's your plan? And if the answer is like, wow, let's just get to work, man. Let's start working. Okay, cool. But I know from the 15 years experience that I have developing kids and all the kids that we've been able to get into Division 1 world, what tends to work and what does not. So nothing that I'm doing is assumptions. It's this has worked not once, not twice, but throughout what, 9 academies, 15 years, thousands of kids, camps that we ran where we're testing every single time, every single session. We know that this is going to work, right? Our goalkeeper camp that is 3 weeks long in the summer. The sessions that we do there are sessions that we are prepping in that case, because again, those kids are, they're vetted, they're looked at, they're seen as like, okay, these kids can hang. Can these kids make sure that the sessions that we're going to prepare and what we've eliminated or what we're adding in, can we get the same outcome? And theoretically, a smaller time because it's only 1 week long, but
Hmm.
realistically, the amount of time that they're with us on the field is, I think, 38 hours or 42 hours. So it's realistically 1 year of having that kid on the field with us. So you test the same sessions in that 1 week. That doesn't seem so long, but we get to see how much improvement are we going to see, because they just did what majority of the kids across the country would do in a year, but what they just did in 1 week. So everything that we're planning is that worked, that didn't work. That actually worked very well for, now 2010s that are 15 years old. That worked really bad for 2015. But we know it from kids from all over. We had kids that flew in from Scotland, Singapore, Germany, Indonesia this past camp. So you're testing different, developmental, what's it called, places also, and
Hmm.
seeing they can adapt to this very well. We can adapt this into this kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're saying something fundamental. And I get back to what we are speaking about, like having a plan. That's basically one of the most important tests as a goalkeeper coach, having a plan, as a player, having a plan of where you want to be oriented. You brought up different goalkeepers coming through, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts about like different methodologies when goalkeeper coaching. Like I said, like we have the background of the Hispanic way, there is the Spaniard thinking, there is the German thought. America hasn't really developed one that I can believe of, but it sounds like every part, every culture has their own way. What are your thoughts about like everything being a little bit different all over the world?
East European, and Latin American actually mesh very well. Um, their philosophy is very similar to ours in the sense of repetition and technique wise. Um, Obviously, you can pick apart certain ones, right? Like in Asia, you could say, due to the size of the majority of, goalkeepers there, they're very similar to Hispanics. You know, the body types are similar, everything's similar. So traditionally, they're explosive, fast, agile, right? They kind of make sense there. But when it comes to technical aspects, especially in Latin America and Eastern European, that technical aspect is actually very, very alike. Why? No clue. But when you look at the difference, like the massive difference for me is Latin American and the English methodology. Those two are day and night. And I would say that English methodology and the US are, brothers or cousins, whatever you want to say. Because most of them come here, most of the American goalkeepers survive in England. I mean, America descends from that, right? So the body type is very similar. And I've always believed that the reason why American goalkeepers are able to be more successful in England is because the demand on agility, explosiveness, and speed is not so high a priority, unlike catching. So if you throw them catching, majority of American like elite, like I searched yesterday, the average Division 1 height right now is 6'2". So let's just say 6'3". Average EPL height right now is 6'3". Cool. Day and night. I mean, sorry, similar. And all we got to focus on making sure is you can catch this hard ass shot. You know, they go well. Obviously, there's more to it, but the if you look at English development, that is a priority. Catching is like DNA essential in England. Like that is it. Maybe Scotland too, but in the UK area. And for us as a US, define me the MLS goalkeeper.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Honestly, I have never seen it that way. So I'm glad that you brought it up because it kind of connect some dots for me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Shifting a little bit, what, again, back to the question for advices. What advices would you give to a coach that is trying to develop their brand, their personal brand, or the academy, or stuff like that entrepreneurial road? What will be your advice?
Oh man, look, I don't think I'm doing a good job at all. You know, like I look 13 years down the road, and I'm just like, I think I should have been at a much different place. I think Kronos should have been a lot bigger by now. But that's just me. I don't know, maybe just me being myself, you know.
Hmm.
But every now and then, like I was in what's it called? Florence in October, and I had two kids recognize me. And I thought, this is like, who, someone set this up, right? This kid named Alan, who plays, he's on the U15 national team, and this other kid, his name is Georgie, or that, at least that's his name. Um, and yeah, they both recognize me. They both buy gloves, and I thought, man, this is so cool. Like, this is actually really awesome. But me being myself, I think my brand should have been bigger. I think if Kronis was what I think it is, or is what I think it is, I should be able to compete with the, excuse me, the more known brands, the more smaller known brands, you know? And again, I've designed every glove in the past 13 years. And sometimes I think, well, maybe it's my designing. Maybe I'm not that good as I think. But then I look at stuff and I'm like, I can compete with them. I think that the biggest thing for me is our budget is smaller, you know? It's still me and Anton in a small team growing this on a day to day, and someone said it the best, and this is doing this part-time. Cronus technically is my full-time job,
Hmm.
but part-time I'm developing gloves, and the other part-time I'm developing kids. So I think when it comes to personal branding, I'm not I don't feel the best saying like, "Oh, you should do this." Honestly, I'm just posting whatever makes sense and it connects with Cronus. If it connects with Cronus, it makes sense. That's all it does. Whether, like, there was a time where people would tell me like, "Dude, too much jiu-jitsu, man. Like, way too much." Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. Like, I don't make a living off of jiu-jitsu. You know, I make gear. There's some cool gear that I like a lot that I produce. But yeah, it's not my job. That's my hobby technically. But if I'm gonna wear someone's stuff, it's gonna be my own. And I think that's actually like the advice I would give. Like, just kind of like, just ride for yourself, you know? Might as well.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that about like, oh, too much jujitsu, because at some point I have also struggled with that thought about like, am I wasting my time on jujitsu or not? Because again, I have so many goals, so many plans that I'm looking forward to, and of course jujitsu. Like, I'm not saying no, it takes a lot of time, but like, I mean, if you got jujitsu, you have a you have a lot of time basically. So it's
Yeah,
funny
no,
that you mentioned.
I've had a lot of like, not friends, like very like people that I consider like I'll take your opinion highly, you know, and they're telling me
Hmm.
like, you're getting distracted, dude. Like, you're doing way too much other shit and not Cronus or goalkeeping. And well, to me, it's like, well, I deserve to have something that isn't part of my job.
I agree, and to be fair, like I think again, kind of the way that you think, kind of the way that I think as well. I think like all these stuffs keep us aligned to what we are able to do. Like as developing ourselves and like trying to be like that kind of leadership or just like showing up to ourselves kind of allow us to actually show up to the other things that we can do and show up properly. Like for example, I'm the same person. I wake up early, work out and stuff like that. And people are like, you work out too much. Yeah, but if I wouldn't be working out, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff. If I wouldn't have
Yeah,
this routine, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff. I will be
yeah,
tired, training, drinking, I don't know, doing or stuff that I shouldn't be doing. So I rather to, but
yeah,
I have that mental struggle sometimes, like you were saying, of like, okay, probably I'm spending too much time on this.
yeah. Yeah, like my worst time with Cronus has been when when the boot launch didn't happen. I spent years producing that cleat, years of my life producing it, two failed attempts, and then it finally happened. And here we are. We launched the boot Christmas of 23, I think. I think of 23. And man, I remember waking up Christmas morning. I'm seeing my Shopify map, and I was like, oh. people ordering from Australia, from
Yeah.
Sweden. Like that point, that year, if it was 23 or 22, was the first time that I thought, who I think I am, I am. Today I
Yeah.
am. I just made a cleat. And I remember telling myself, I am a kid that grew up in this country with no papers, that thought will never leave the country to see the world because I thought I was going to be illegal forever, that was going to become a teacher because that's what my dad wanted me to be. And today I launched a freaking cleat.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And I'm like, and there's no one that I know that I can text that can say, how do you make a cleat? And I said, fuck yeah, I did it. I did it.
Yeah.
And I said, and I'm telling you, dude, when I saw that map, the little Shopify map, and it's like all over, and like little cities are popping, lighting up, Australia, Sweden, England, Germany. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I did it.
Right, it's funny because I was listening to a podcast one day of a really famous entrepreneur, and the guy was saying like how one day he released his product, and then he was driving to the gym or whatever, and then he started receiving all these notifications, and it was about people buying, 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 and the guy like it gave me goosebumps of the fact like the guy was like, Jesus Christ, it just changed my life. Like he probably received like $1 million, and he was driving and he was like, Jesus Christ, I don't know what I did. So it's incredible and inspiring what you are sharing. What advice will you give to yourself 10 years younger?
Oh, let me see, 23.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still think, I still think that I did start Cronus too young. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Hold on. Let's just stop that because I'm really curious. You keep mentioning that you started too young, but what does that like? Why do you think that?
And look, when I consider Cronus, like when I consider Cronus being like, okay, this is, you know, for example, I got sued in 2014 for the first time. I was 21 years old, right?
Wow.
And I got sued by a good brand. Like people know this brand.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it arrived and I just thinking like, what is this? I have
Yeah.
$10 in my account. I remember exactly where I was. I don't know if I can buy Chipotle today or put gas in my car to go back home. Like I remember doing the math. Is it better for me to put $10 in my car, go home and eat, and then come back, or just buy food? And like, what was better, right? And I remember I got the email, and yeah, there was like a cease and desist letter. This is how much money you're estimated to owe us, blah blah blah. And I'm like, fuck, dude, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I spoke. Well, we spoke to a business professor, and the business professor was actually, he used to be the VP of General Electrics, like the company that makes like washing machines and kitchen stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And he looked at it, he's like, "Don't worry, bro, I got it." And he
Mm-hmm.
emailed the company back, said, "Hey, my name is so and so. I'm representing Abdel and Kronis, whatever, whatever. This is what we have. This is what you have. Blah blah blah. Unless you come with this, 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 and this, leave us alone." But for those whatever months it was me thinking, what did I do? Like I had my vision on. I was studying kinesiology. I was going to become a physical therapist, and hopefully at that point, do something. So when that was happening, like a year in, I just kept thinking like, I should just worry about playing, worry about making sure I can keep getting my scholarship renewed. Maybe I go pro, maybe I don't, and then I go to get my doctorate in physical therapy. I become a doctor, call it a day. Like that's what I should
Mm-hmm.
be doing. And the only reason why I still think I started Cronus too soon is because although I started at 20, and it sounds great when I would tell people, oh, I started at 20, 13 years old, from
Mm-hmm.
20, 21, 22, 23, like those 3 years, Cronus growth is not happening at all because I'm a Division I athlete. I'm a full-time student. The
Mm-hmm.
only good thing about it was I was wearing my own glove, but I was in a very bad financial situation because, well, I didn't work. I coached kids on the side to get by. We were selling gloves, yes, but Kronis gloves were $35 back then because that's all we could convince people to buy them for. So, for the learning experience that I gained in those first 3 years, compared to what I think I lost in the sense of kind of, sacrificed a lot of my Division I career. I sacrificed a little bit more on possibly at that time playing USL or whatever else was happening. I do think if I would have started this at 24, 23, from 2013 to 2016, a little bit more mature, a little bit in a better place, graduating from college, and I have to do that. I think I would have probably still been where I am right now because I
Yeah.
don't count my first year of me counting Kronis as a full time whatever. I can't even say a business owner, but me going full time with it was 2016, 2017. So I think about it a lot. I'm like, that would be my only thing. I still believe that if I'm to do something, I'm going to go all in and not say, well, I'm a student. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I go in and that's all I do.
That makes sense. All right. That makes sense. Thank you. I needed the clarification
Yeah.
because on my lens, on my sense of lens, is like, okay, you wouldn't have been where you are right now if you haven't experienced all those things. Like you learn from that. But I get what you're saying now. All right. Just one more question before we finish. It has been 1 hour and 30 minutes. And again, I know you have free time, but I just want to be mindful about the time. Before I jump to a call, I mean to the last question, of course, I wanted to acknowledge you because I think your story is inspiring. Now that I have get to know a little bit more about you, your background, like all this stuff, like you were saying, you were thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna go on it or put gas. I think it's really inspiring. Inspiring people. I don't know. Sometimes they doubt themselves, and I think like you're saying, like taking those challenges and just going for it. I think sometimes that's the lack of it. And I have this famous question that I like to do to people, like, and I stole it from my cousin. So if he is listening to this, I'm giving the credits. It's like what your psychology will tell you. I do believe like my psychologist will basically tell me go and do those challenges that you are like thinking about, and sometimes
Yeah.
we have that fear of. So again, for me, honestly, as well, like I told you, like I just got to know you, but like everything you have accomplished and stuff like that for me is really inspiring. Again, like having your academy, your gloves, and all of this is really cool. Being recognized around the world and all of that is just incredible. So congrats for the things.
Thank you, bro.
Last
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Last and final question. I know we can continue been talking, but I don't want to do like a 3 hours episode. We can leave it for later when I have a bigger audience. But if you were gonna give three advices, three things to whoever, like everything about all your videos, all your social media, Kronis is gone, everything, but you get to live three lessons, three things that you could share to everybody. What will those things? It can be goalkeeping, it can be life, it can be anything. Just three things that you wish people
Man, I
know
mean,
more.
goalkeeping and life to me go hand in hand, right? Like who I am is because I'm a goalkeeper, and because I'm a goalkeeper is basically who I am. But yeah, I mean, I still believe by, the very little to no like work-life balance. I think that you'll be much happier if you are doing on a day-to-day like who you are, like there's no
Hmm.
need to check out from um I don't know, whatever you do to do what you want to do. It's just if you can and you can produce it, why not? And especially in today's world, like I I struggle with my story all the time, but I mean, I enjoy being whether it's a glove owner, academy coach, whatever it is, I just get to wake up and still be, the Kronis guy every day. So to me, it's like, don't chase the work-life balance, just make the work your life, and it tends to
I
work
love.
out. You
Yeah,
know.
I love that. I love that.
I think that for me, like another one advice would just kind of be it's important a lot of times to chase hobbies as well, you know? Like for example, a lot of people don't know, but like I'm in school right now. I just kind of woke up one day and said, "Fuck it. Let me go back, pursue another degree." I'm attempting because I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but to get into law school.
Hmm.
So I just said, but it's okay to chase things like that, and it's okay to also fail at it. At the end of the day, like I said, like what's the worst that's gonna happen? We're gonna lose time. I mean, by the time I find out if I end up finishing this whole little project I got, a little side quest, I'll be 37. But I'll be 37 without attempting either way, so might as well go
Yeah.
for it. Um, and I don't know, final one. I don't know. Advices aren't the best for me, but I live by, I actually this is a good one. the earn not given quote is a good one, but I love this other quote that is, "What's your excuse?" And I love it because I saw once a video of someone talking to a child with special needs, and again, like that's personal for me due to my family upbringing. But they spoke about if someone with special needs is willing to do X, Y, and Z with all the excuses they can do, what's yours? And that one always sticks to me because I have passed every fitness exam with that excuse in my head of I can run, and my little sister has never walked a day in her life. So I'm sure if she could run this damn Cooper test, she would, because she's never ran.
Yeah.
So it's always
Wow.
been by that advice of like, what's your excuse? Well, if I have none, because I can run.
Right. Those three really powerful. I really appreciate you. Last question, just because it came. Is there any books, any things that you read and you enjoy and you think it has kind of podcasts or stuff like that that has kind of shaped the thought of your thoughts? Or
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge reader. I don't know if you can see right here, but yeah, that's
yeah,
full.
I love that. Yeah,
Um,
I have my books over here as well. You cannot see them,
yeah,
but like I have a bunch of them. But yeah.
yeah. It's weird because like I started reading a Scott Fitzgerald book. It's a guy who wrote The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another book, I forget the name of it, and he basically passed away as he was finishing writing it, right? So at the end of the day, when it comes to books, as much I think as men we do this mistake of self-help books, and like I've read The Alchemist, and I've read what is it called, Relentless, and all those books that are like be hard and shit like that. I uh I realized that it's like business. Like you can't get better unless you just go try it.
And
So
do
I
it.
can
Yeah.
read, yeah, like I can read all the self-help books of whatever. Like I read that Relentless book, and it just talks, everyone knows it about Kobe Bryant and his mentality and stuff like that. None of, like, let's be honest, none of us are waking up with a Laker contract to be able to just wake up at 4 a.m. and go do that. You know, I grew up with a dad who at one point was making $100 a week and was raising a family of four on $100 a week. My mentality is a lot different, and not saying that that is wrong, but right now where I am in life, my goal is different. And my goal right now is the more I attempt and the faster I fail, the quicker I get to learn. And the more I learn, the more I can actually say, well, this is what I did. This didn't work. Like I was saying with the cleats. Christmas happened, I did it. January 1st, no cleats. They didn't arrive into the country. How you manage that? There's no business book that tells you how to do that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to self-help, man, I've read most of like those trendy ones that every male loves to read.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes, man, you can learn a lot from life, like the old like Hemingway books, Scott Fitzgerald book, where they just talk about the world and talk about meaningful things that aren't just be hard, and do hard shit because life is that regardless.
Yeah. And funny you mentioned that because I kind of have this discussion with, not discussion, but like this conversation with somebody. And I have all those books as well. At some point, all of them say the same thing.
Yeah,
At the end of the
yeah,
day, is you go and do stuff and figure out and have ownership about it and be grateful
yeah,
about it and just keep showing
yeah.
up and doing the things.
And,
So
and it's great, man. And sometimes it's like one of those where like, cool, but and again, not to make excuses. There's beautiful, like in that Relentless book, like there's beautiful stories that he talks about, like the author about like his immigrant background, as I think they were Lebanese or something like that.
mhm.
I don't know what it is to be welcome in this country, though. I know what it is to see, ICE show up at my dad's job, or my dad showing up to the house at like 11 and saying, "Damn, dude, they got everyone at work." And me as a like 6-year-old thinking like, "What do you mean? Like you're not a bad person. Like why, and then him telling me like, "Oh, we're not supposed to be here." Okay, cool. Like that changes everything. So like sometimes, like you said, like those books, they're great if you can fall into that time. But if you read about books about like the world and life and history, and actually like, some sort of like, I don't know, like right now I was reading the, Barack Obama book recently, or I read the Phil Knight book. I don't know if you read that one, the Shoe Dog one. And
No, no.
I have a whole different opinion about Phil Knight. I thought this was a guy because people would always say your life is similar to like his. Like he grew Nike out of the back of his trunk and stuff like that. And I thought,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
need
I read that one. Sorry,
yeah.
I misunderstood. Yeah, I read that one.
And as I'm reading it, and I'm like, this guy was not at all like a rags to riches story.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very successful dad that had a very successful job that was able to put him through anything. I mean, the guy traveled the world as a gift for graduating college, right? So like all
Yeah.
those things are things that's like that's not my life. I didn't have money for food, so books like you said, like every book is gonna say the same thing. Wake up early, early worm gets the worm, go for it. But to me, it's like no one could teach me harder work than my dad. No one
Mm-hmm.
could teach me harder work than my mom, and seeing my mom raise me and my little sister that didn't speak English as my sister has special needs. No one needs to show me what it is to be hard work than my dad showing up for dinner fully in white because of the powder from all the construction he did that day. I don't need a book, but books are great when it comes to the other stuff I don't know about life and, the beauty of history and stuff like that.
That's good. That's great. Thanks for sharing everything.
Hell yeah, bro.
Today's episode. I really appreciate to get to know more about
Anytime,
your
brother.
story. And again, really, really inspiring. I hope people that are listening to this kind of get that sense of like, wow, this guy has pushed through life and I can do it as well. I really
Yeah.
hope that. Thank you. I appreciate you again. Thanks for being humble enough to come spend 2 hours with me. A guy
Anytime,
that,
man.
yeah, is trying to grow. So thanks very much.
Nah, brother. Thank you.
All right,
Be
mate.
safe.
Take
Thank you,
care.
brother.
Bye.
Bye.